When the mind says it's time to rest, that's the point to keep going. Figure out yourself after you have wandered between the different extremes that are existing. Your talking and your thinking should be related to making that small spark grow. It's not here and it's not here. It's all of that. That's possible.
Welcome back to Mulligan Brothers. Today's video, as always, was sponsored by Huel. I'm drinking Huel Black Edition, which has 26 vitamins and minerals, 35 grams of protein and slow release carbs to make sure that I can stay satiated and proteined up whilst I make these documentaries. If you want to find out more about these, go to the link in the description. I'll talk about them a little bit later on in the video.
So I want to take it to the disciples and bring it back to what happens at the core of this monastery. And for me, we're talking about sort of difficult times in people and hard times. And I see such a routine and consistency and, everybody's got their roles here and responsibilities. How important is it, first of all, to have those roles and responsibilities? But typically, what would somebody who visits the temple or becomes a disciple, what does their routine look like and how does that affect them as a person?
So as a general explanation, I have to start like this, that this monastery, or the way in how we are trying to, let's say, share something, the way how we are sharing knowledge, it's not normally by giving out something. That sounds now very strange, but disciples who come here, our guests that are coming here, it's not that they are coming here in order to wait and to receive something, meaning, to be honest, there is nothing in a way besides talking to them that I normally try to give them. The reason why I do talk to people that come here is because my aim is to take something away from them. And the whole approach of this Buddhist monastery, of this ancient way of teaching, let's say, it's different to what you see nowadays in the world, because it seems like it's always about adding something more. You are learning something because you think you are missing it. You are going to another country because you think you are missing that experience. You are trying out another type of food because you think you are missing that taste. So that means the general idea, which is at the moment existing, is every time when we as humans feel something is lacking, the answer is just consume more, which means just go out and look where are you going to find something that is going to fill up that gap, to fill up that hole that you are feeling. That is the approach that we have outside, which means something is missing, no problem, somewhere out there it is, you just pay the money and then you're going to get it. But by observing this type of behavior, I think you can see that no matter how much you consume, no matter how much of these offerings you are taking, you never become full. It's always only a question of time until your new desire starts to arise. It always just fills that small gap, that small hole for a short moment. And after observing this type of pattern over and over again, of course also with myself, of course then also within the field of my family and friends. And then you see it just everywhere. Then comes up that question, okay, so if this pattern is continuously repeating, what is the way out? Well, definitely it's not by adding something on top of it, meaning by joining this type of approach and being again one of these, I don't know how to say, one of these organizations to give you something. this is not about giving. It's about taking. It's about taking away everything that is in front of a person's eye that has covered up the clear view upon how this world, how your internal nature, how your emotions, your mindset is all connected with each other. So the reason why I talk, which seems like I'm giving out something, no, I'm not giving out. I'm just saying something in order for you yourself to let something fall, to realize for yourself that there was something in the mind, there was a concept, a belief system, a way of thinking inside of you all the time already that maybe now you realize that one has no fundament anymore. Actually, it is blocking me more than it actually does help me. So, and why I had to bring out now this extended explanation is because everything inside this monastery from the moment on when a disciple arrives here is based upon exactly that type of structure. It is about taking everything away from that disciple. The way of how he's thinking, the way how he is moving, all of this. Because once the cup is empty, now it can be filled up again. So that means the initial stages, now regardless whether it's a disciple or if it is new guests that are coming to visit us. Of course, we know that these are guests that maybe also have paid some contribution fee to join here. So of course we know they are guests. Therefore, sometimes in this Western world now, I have to say that I have to find the balance between being gentle and nice to the people, but at the same time keep the right teaching method with them. And the right teaching method means you are not paying to come here in order for me to be nice to you. You come here because you want to learn something. And I observe you and I try to figure out what is it that might be the key that you learn to let go of something. And this letting go is of course going to be uncomfortable. Why? Because it is something that no one normally in this world already started to teach you. In our school systems, in no matter what system, you don't find the subject how to let go. You find the subject how to get more. And so that means in that moment when people are getting confronted the first time with this type of teachings, it's uncomfortable. But it is very similar, like at least when I try to compare it, many people can criticize you probably. But if your father criticizes you, it has a different value. Yes? It hits deeper. And similar like this feeling that suddenly something has hit really deep, has pecked the core. This is the essence of what we call the Zen teachings, the Chan teachings, where the Shaolin Temple belongs into. These are the teaching methods, meaning getting out of the comfort zone is part of the process. If I realize somebody already starts to feel like very confident again, very bright, then I know, okay, it's time to shut him down again. Yes. And so someone is always confronted between here, then he's brought down. Then he gets methods how he will build himself up again. Then he gets smashed down again. And so it continues until you think sometimes it's also very paradox that it seems like, Shifu, last week you said I should do like this. So you told me to go in this direction. There. Today I'm asking you the same question, but you are telling me I should go in that direction. And I said, yes, true. Yeah, and 3 weeks after, Shifu, now you tell me 3 different things. This direction, that direction, and then once again, you're telling me in this direction. And then people say, now, what type of teaching method is that? It is for you to figure out yourself after you have wandered between the different extremes that are existing. First, I push you in that direction. Then you walk. Then I tell you other direction. Then you walk there. Then maybe we change again. Then you walk back there. Until you realize it's not here and it's not here. It's all of that. That's possible. And this is like really something special, I have to say, that it's working sometimes. These type of methods are working at such subconscious and psychological level that I really appreciate that it is like this. And it's interesting. So, and ultimately, what for? Why should a disciple go through all of these, this type of education? One thing, therefore, is very practical because I think around, I'm not sure, 5 or 6 years before, we still had, for example, civil services or military services here in Germany. But meanwhile, it's not existing anymore that you have to join. You can just freely choose. So that means when somebody goes to school, finishes school after his high school degree, he normally can now choose what he will do. Either a voluntary year somewhere, before the military or the civil services, but that all fell apart. So that was also the time where we were thinking, okay, maybe let's offer this idea of a discipleship. So people, instead of going to the military, they go 2 years into the monastery or 1 year. Because this is the time to retreat and to start discovering yourself. Discovering what type of a person you are, what type of character you are. And just to reset yourself for whatever is going to come afterwards. Because honestly speaking, I also know, and it has also shown now in the last 11 years since we're having this type of education, that from all the 35, 40 disciples that meanwhile crossed this temple, we only have 5 left from them. So that means the amount of even the disciples that ultimately extend the stay is also very, very little. That's not a reason to give up, but at least we know that there is a reason why nowadays are not many Shaolin temples existing anymore. Because it's simply not a way for everyone, and especially not if you are trying to walk it from beginning until end.
When you're talking about sort of the influence of other people and that knowledge, and we spoke again about it being a spark for some people, like it's like a switch, it like flicks for some people. But when we were talking about how to stay on the path or how to not get lost, you said that they need to keep that spark alive inside themselves. How do they keep the spark alive? If there's no external, how do they do that?
It is a method that we call, once you feel that spark or that small fire now needs to be nourished in order for it to grow. And yeah, maybe it fits quite well. I had that one TEDx talk. It was the first one, the 5 hindrances. And those 5 hindrances are actually describing the mental states that in a way are making it difficult for you to move on, let's say. And I think it fits very well now also with that spark. And one of these things is if you are self-questioning yourself too often, if you are filled with too much doubt all the time, that is definitely one of these hindrances that is going to diminish that fire again. Once the fire is going, the fire is going. So stop investing your thoughts. Stop rethinking about why it would not work. Don't stop the fire before it even started really growing. Yeah, and this is this state of, you need to get out of that self-questioning. You need to learn to sometimes really have confidence in the power of your thoughts. Once it's in the mind already, everything can become possible if you find the way to translate what is in the mind into action, because this transformation makes things come to earth. Everything we have available nowadays on this earth started somewhere here by someone. It started here and then it ended here, meaning there were some actions merged together with what was on the mind to bring it here, visible for others and also visible for yourself in front of you, not just inside of you. And therefore, number one to really avoid is self-questioning and having too much doubts about yourself. And the other 4 hindrances, let's say, is also easily expressed. Don't get caught and carried away too much by positive emotions, which means you feel that spark, and out of whatever reason you have now something that is catching your attention, which makes you lose the focus of the spark, because there is just something which giving you too much of a positive feeling. Don't get lost. Don't get lost and drift apart. Don't lose your sight. At the moment we are talking about, you want that spark to grow more. So that means you want something to grow, you need energy to get there. Energy is being directed by the intensity and the depth of your intention. So that means your intention, your focus, your concentration, your efforts, your meditation, your action, your complete way of life, your talking and your thinking should be related to making that small spark grow. And this can only be done by learning really to focus the mind. Don't distract by positive emotions. Don't get distracted by negative emotions. And because all of this has something to do with investing effort. Effort means you need to do something. You need to bring it out. It's not about passively waiting. There are areas in this life where you are like a passive driver. You're sitting at the back seat, somebody is driving, and yeah, you can enjoy the view. But in this case, when you want to make that fire grow, you need to become the driver. This time it's switching. You're not at the back seat. You must be the one directing the thoughts, directing the actions, directing the energy. And that means that third hindrance, for example, we call it is that sloth and torpor, it's called. It's like you are like heavy, mind heavy, body heavy, no motivation. That must go. You want to make that fire grow, these things must go. Yeah. And okay, now how to make something like this grow? It starts with sometimes really simple things of, instead of lying in the bed the whole day, stand up. Instead of staying in your room the whole day, go outside in the air. Instead of just walking slowly through the park, start running through the park. Instead of running through the park, put some jumps in, put some more intensity in. So what it means is, step by step, do something that you get out of the heaviness. Because it's not going to come flying. And of course you cannot expect someone to make a huge leap from one day to another. But this is why there are steps. This is why sometimes time is also on your side. Step by step. Continuity, trust in the process, and trust in the universe, or trust in the words. Why I'm telling you this? Because sometimes it's just the action merged with the right intention, which is gonna bring the difference. But as long as that first spark is not there, it's difficult to make something grow if there is not that initial spark. And that one must be initiated by oneself.
Today's episode, as always, was powered by Huel. This stuff has been absolutely crucial to my training, and the world record I just broke, the world's heaviest marathon, where I carried 220 pounds for 28 miles. Yes, I achieved it, guys. It is done. This is what I was drinking. Huel Black Edition. It has 35 grams of protein, 26 vitamins and minerals and slow release carbs. And it's what I use in my training all the time. But don't just take my word for it. People like the hardest geezer ran across Africa drinking this stuff. It's absolutely amazing. And if you want to get exclusive offers and deals, go to the link in the description and you can find out more about their other products like their daily greens and their meals, which I eat every single lunchtime. Thank you to Huel for sponsoring the video, and let's dive back into the episode. I think one thing that sticks out, and I think it will stick out to our viewers, is the Shaolin warrior. Is that something that can be applied to our normal life? Like somebody who's not practicing in a Shaolin temple, like can that Shaolin warrior sort of mindset and mentality be used?
We can try in the beginning to remove ourselves a little bit from the wording, because I think everybody who hears the word warrior, he will already have something in the mind what he is considering a warrior to be. But let's take another example that I think many people nowadays are somehow looking up to. We can take any successful person nowadays. So I think everybody can find someone who is successful in something. I don't think that this person reached his success or reached his position where he is at the moment without having some guiding principles in his lifetime. And one of them certainly is structure. So that means any successful person nowadays, I don't think he reached that point by just doing what he wants during the day. Maybe right now he's in the position that he can do what he wants, but how he got there is not by doing what he wanted. He put himself a structure, he put himself a guideline, and no matter how he felt during that day, this was the code, this was the mission, and this is what he kept. If you feel tired or not, yeah, if you are in the mood to do it or not, you had your structure and you kept it. So that also means at the same time, some people have the structure, it's written down, but then they still say, oh, okay, but yesterday I actually really worked hard enough. I think today I can really allow myself to rest. Okay, for some people it's working, but other people are still having this willpower and that discipline that say, it's a 1 week plan, the week is not over yet, so we still keep going. And this is also a topic that you can compare now. So what does this structure, so what do you want to say with that? Even so that we're in the 21st century and the possibilities of doing and exploring this world are so huge, it doesn't mean that you should freely do what you want at all times. This is not the way of how in the monastery, in the Shaolin Temple, we are regarding it as a healthy way of growing. And that means here, when you are in the temple, we simply have a schedule. The schedule is 6 o'clock is the working time, 6 a.m. starts the day. First of all, we take care of our animals. Afterwards, at 7 o'clock, we are preparing food for ourselves. At 8 o'clock, we are having the morning meditation. At 9 o'clock until 11 o'clock, we have the first training session. 11 o'clock until 1 o'clock is the working time for the monastery. Then 1 o'clock is lunch. Afterwards, it's a short break time until 3 o'clock. From 3 until 5 o'clock, it's another training session. Then follows 5 until 6, 1 hour of working time again. 6 o'clock dinner. 7 until 9, evening training. 9 o'clock is the evening ceremony. And this is how the day ends. 6 days a week. That means inside this daily structure, number one, there is no place for your own wishes, what you would like to do. So that means on the one side, yeah, but how come you are living, we are living right now in the 21st century, and the way how you are describing right now, this way of life, it really sounds like a prison to me. Because you have no freedom of expressing what you want. Yes, it's correct like this. Because just imagine for a moment you would live a life based on what you want. Then it would look like this. Yesterday evening, because we went out with our friends and stayed awake until 2 o'clock in the morning. Even if today at 7 o'clock I have to be at work, but I don't feel like being at work because I drank too much. So, okay, so I'm just gonna rest at home, and who cares about my obligations at work? He needs to find a way, he can search for another person. So then you wake up, and because you're hungry, you directly run to the fridge. At 9 o'clock, open the fridge. Okay, nothing is in there. So first of all, order a pizza at 10 o'clock in the morning again. Then because the pizza, you didn't finish everything, at 1 o'clock you're hungry again. So you run to the fridge and just grab something out of there. Yeah. In the monastery, there are strict eating times. If you're hungry in between, you wait. You don't run every time to the fridge when you feel like running to the fridge. So, but now let's go extended. Actually, actually you are in a relationship, but then you go with your friends into the city and it's a very nice weather and there are many other beautiful people running around in the city. And because you think, oh, boom, I'm in a free world, we're in the 21st century, I can do what I want. Well, and this is why you're cheating on your partner. And maybe you can feel already in which direction this is going. We don't think the human is going to develop in a proper direction when he is just following what he thinks he wants to do. This is not the type of freedom that is helpful for yourself, and it's also not helpful for the people that are afterwards dealing with you. Because this type of freedom, you think it's the freedom of the mind. You think that everything the mind tells you, I need to follow. That means freedom. No, for us, it's the other way around. To learn and not follow what the mind tells you. This is the first step towards freedom. Because during the 24-hour day, your mind tells you so many different things. Your mind tells you, you should do this right now. Yes, you just had an argument with another person. The mind tells you, hey, don't take the words just like this. He just insulted me. I need to insult him back. Yeah, I need to show him who the boss is. Yeah, or anything like this. The mind gives you during the day so many different instructions. But not all these instructions are helpful. Because these are instructions which came from conditioning of the past. They come from how you were conditioned by your parents, conditioned by the teachers, conditioned by the government, conditioned by the politics, conditioned by the advertisement, conditioned by everything that nowadays has an impact on the way how we see the world. And to sometimes take a step back. And this is why it's called take a retreat. Retreat from yourself. Go back into observation mode. Yeah, stay calm. And just observe. So this time, we really want to be passive and be in the observation mode. Because this observation mode now really gives you the insight of where are you standing at this point of time in this life. When you are involved in doing, involved in activity, involved in creation, it's very hard to see where you're standing. And once again, and this is the way where we say both of these aspects we need. To learn and really be able to observe yourself, but at the same time when you have set yourself a goal, when you set yourself a mission, to have the vitality, to have the power, to have the mindset, to have the determination, yeah, to have the willpower just as we know them from the Shaolin warrior monks today. And it's not just in our tradition where I am coming from right now. These were the idols that I grew up with. But maybe if you would talk to another person which maybe has his descendants coming from Japan, maybe he would take the Japanese samurai as an example of the warrior codex. Maybe you go to the United States, I don't know, maybe over there you can take the Navy SEALs as an elite special force, which is also expressing a very powerful mindset in many different ways. So different cultural traditions had different idols, different type of powerful spirits that you can look up to. And from where I come from, These were the warrior monks.
Sometimes when you see from the outside Shaolin, even loads of different martial arts, from karate to whatever it is, sometimes it doesn't feel like it's practical. And I feel like what some of the conversations we've spoken about is about drawing that back in. And I think maybe it's a held belief for yourself that that's something you want to do, that you want to be able to have that sort of practical element of it and apply it into our lives. And I just basically love to hear some of your thoughts on it. And then I guess we can break it down into the disciplines, the courage, the compassion, all that kind of stuff.
For example, this morning, you saw, first of all, one of my very, very close friends. Actually, he's like my brother. He's like my younger brother. We grew up together in the city over here, but then he had some things to do in another city. I had my studies, for example, going on. So in between, our paths sometimes just separated. But nevertheless, if I look on a wider scale, I can see he's my brother. I can feel he's my brother. At the same time, when he grew up very young, he already started being interested, first of all, on the martial arts. And second of all, also his interest is into dancing. Okay, so me at the same time, I also showed you this morning, I'm interested into sometimes technical aspects, meaning I started earning my first money actually by being a bicycle courier, driving out sandwiches that people ordered here in that city. This is like the first money that somehow I started earning. And parallel to all of this, I also had the interest in the martial arts. So in the first place, without now talking about this monastery, Xiao Shen and myself, we are simply martial art enthusiasts. We just like this training, which also goes hand in hand with the fact when we were still, let's say, younger than right now, we also like to compete, of course. When you're young, when the testosterone is still quite high, when you're still a little bit unsure about yourself, of course, you want to use the martial art, in our case, and actually battle yourself with other people. So that also means that in very young ages already, it started. Don't understand it wrong. It's not we were looking for conflict, but we understood that going consciously into conflict at the same time carries the possibility that you are learning something about yourself. And it also reveals at the same time, if you are lying to yourself, if you think about yourself, you're better than you at the end actually are. So that means conflicts, once they arise, it just starts to bring out that, it brings out part of the truth. Let's say it like this. Okay. So then those two of us, me for example also, growing up in that city, then we had the chance that this monastery on the one side was founded, getting also in contact with the Shaolin Temple in China. And it's in a way for enthusiasts like us, nothing better could have happened. So having the chance right now to, on a daily basis, just follow up on your own passion that we have anyway, and then even having this possibility that people are interested to more or less know about what are you practicing, why are you practicing it, and what's the benefit of it. So, and this is how over time, throughout all different channels, let's say, and throughout working hard, staying with it, people started talking about us, people started seeing more about us. So this is why everything evolved in the way until we know, or we have what nowadays is called the Shaolin Temple Europe. Okay, so this place right now is run by many, it's not just Xiao Shen and myself. We have more teachers inside of here, sharing the same passion, sharing the same background, meaning this martial way of thinking, this physicality being integrated into already your upbringing. This is what all of us inside this Shaolin Temple Europe is connecting us. So, and we have people that are, let's say, specialized in certain areas. We have people with a bigger overview, but at the same time, everybody somehow has his place inside this community. And just throughout time, when many people come together, everyone with a very specific skill set, everybody different from us, different childhood, different education, sometimes different style, meanwhile, what we are specializing in. Different visions, different feelings, different emotions, everything different. But one thing the same. The realization that our lifetime is not just about us. And that it gives a really good feeling, or sometimes also a nice purpose, knowing that we're going to go together as a bond, as a band of brothers, to have a brotherhood. And together in this brotherhood create something that is benefiting more than just the individuals inside of it. Yes, and yeah, this now just like the short story about what happened this morning, how come that we are actually living together like this. So, and now, just a few years back, I was also staying right here outside in the monastery all the time. But as I also said, meanwhile, we have so many guests coming, which made it necessary for me to actually leave out to a separate apartment, leaving more space for the participants to come here. The circumstances have changed for me. The surroundings, the environment, let's say, has changed for me. What cannot leave me are the principles that have always followed my life. So, and just looking, I mean, I don't consider myself old, but all of us inside of here, this whole community, we are all young guys, young people. Of course, we enjoy going out, listening to music, talking to other people, just socializing. Of course, this is something which is also interesting and attractive to us. Of course, sometimes when we are being invited, because I grow up here, I know the city, I know the people. So that means it's natural that I also have friends outside of the monastery. But at the same time, I know. Why? Because I felt it before. I know that when I go out in the evening and I do not discipline myself, I let myself go too much with whatever flow there is, or with the dynamic of the group, or with the flow of the evening. It's not that it's bad. I'm not thinking in terms of bad. I'm thinking in terms of consequence. And that means if someone's getting drunk in the evening, if I get drunk in the evening, which happened, I don't feel well the next day. I don't feel clear the next day. My decisions are not the best the next day. But meanwhile, everything has become so, let's say, so big also on the one side. People also depending a little bit based on the actions that I'm taking, that I just decide I cannot take decisions and I don't want to take decisions, knowing that the reach of these decisions is going to affect everyone. I don't want to take a wrong decision because I'm not clear in the mind. So just based only on this fact, for example, I can go out, but I don't drink. If I know I have some obligation the next day, I set up all the previous days before in order to be ready for the day to come. Okay? So, and that means very clear that if I have put something upon my mind, which for me has a priority, which for me is nothing anymore to discuss about, then all the actions now that I'm doing, I just always compare, does this action, is it compatible to what I actually, or where I want to go? And that also means that you need to, of course, discipline yourself regardless of how inside you feel. Because, of course, just like every human, when you are out and there are many friends of yours and everybody's laughing and the mood is good and the group dynamic is good and the energy is up, and then they invite you, why don't you just stay a little bit longer? It's just 4 o'clock, stay until 6. Yeah, and I know next day I have to go out. Of course, there is a side of myself having this wish, this feeling, oh, okay, come on, let's go on, let's go on. But I can't. I would if I could, but I can't. Why? Because I have another priority. Because somewhere I'm saying, okay, it was a nice evening until right now, all is good. For me, I'm really happy already that I spent this time with all of you, but I need to get back to mission. And this is the point where discipline for me, for example, comes in, that despite the fact of your internal world, your emotions, your feelings, maybe tell you something else, yeah, but discipline is for me that it's not listening in that case now necessary to your feelings, but to call out again what was your priority that you have set to yourself while you still had a clear mind. Okay, so, and this I keep. So, discipline on the one side, meaning you are keeping your commitment. You are keeping your commitment, so that means it is something about actively doing. Let's say you are actively, consciously keeping your goal. But discipline at the same time also means you're leaving away the stuff that you know is gonna block you along the way. So discipline in that sense is not just a one-way street. It's about what you want, this is what you do, and what you know is not good for you, you leave it. So we have an active part, a passive part, yeah? This is where it comes to discipline. Now, next thing is, once I wake up in the morning, after then having a short 5-minute, 10-minute, just like sitting calm, sitting still. So when I come into my office, you maybe saw there is one meditation pillow on the carpet. I just sit down, close my eyes, put my hands into the center, focus on the breathing, and 5 minutes, 10 minutes just like arrive. Meaning, because when I'm sitting, there is no physical activity going on. So, which means you are not moving in a way. The eyes can also be shut. For me, the advantage of doing these things, what is nowadays maybe known as meditative practices, is that you have consciously actually shut down the senses of the body. So once the senses of the body, your inside world with the outside world is in a way not connected anymore, or there are no disturbances, that means you can be very intimate with the world of your thoughts. You actually literally see the thoughts coming and also realize if you keep a thought, if a thought is more easy to let go, if other thoughts come, despite the fact you want to let them go, they still try to stay. You realize such subtleties about your mind. So, and the reason why I sit sometimes 5 minutes, sometimes 10 minutes, is just in order to make it blank. Just to blank it out. Until for myself, I feel like, okay, now it's just, I'm completely in, it feels like you're constantly in observation mode. You're just observing. You are not an actor inside of there anymore. if you catch a thought, this is what I would regard as now you're becoming an actor. You're starting now to play your movie. But being in observation mode, you don't really care what type of movie is now gonna happen. You're just observing. So this is the state where I wait until this hits in. So, and afterwards, have my first cup of tea just to start warming up the organs, and then just heading upwards. And in case Xiao Shen is awake, then we train together. If he's not there, I train alone. Yeah, because this type of training is now another, let's say it's another chapter within the day where actually I am priming and I'm conditioning myself to, let's say, to strengthen certain principles that I know will help me afterwards throughout the rest of the day, which is like, don't give up. Just like as an example, I don't know what type of email is going to come in. I don't know how many appointments I'm still going to have, let's say, on that day. The point is like this. Once I have an appointment, once I have something on my schedule, there is no way for me to give up and not appear there. So, and similar like this, I'm already saying to myself, this morning training is now like the small preparation. Because what I'm doing is all the time, you start slowly, of course, to warm yourself up, but then you push yourself. You push yourself to that point where you feel that thought is coming back, it's time to rest. And when the mind says it's time to rest, that's the point to keep going. That is that threshold which is going to make the difference afterwards. So discovering your limits on the one side is the first thing. Discovering it is the first step. Because discovering your limits means you have a vision about what you can do, and at the same time the limit is showing you what you cannot do at the moment. We're still in the field of martial arts, of course, right now. Okay? But so using this training in the morning is not just about the physicality and the fact of that we are training martial art movements. In the first place, it is also to condition myself to a certain vibe that I'm carrying throughout this life. And what is that vibe? That vibe is, I don't know what this life is going to bring, but there is no alternative. Then when the challenge comes, when life is getting hard, there is no alternative for me than to just keep going. But from where can I pull the strength? From where do I have this energy in order to move, to keep going when already you feel exhausted, when it's already hard? Well, it's because I do it every day already for 1 hour. Exactly the same thing happening, but using my body in that sense. Conditioning my body, bringing my body to the limit, and then by doing so, cultivating the mindset. And now, what type of exercises or methods or content now we are using for ourselves? Let's say, you see, we have the big bag, and we have all the hardening materials. So everything that you see in this room, at the end, it is the tools that after spending more than 30 years along the way of martial arts, I have personally decided for myself, this is the basics that I think for me is already, let's say, good. Meaning, martial art training without having a bag, something's missing. Martial art training without conditioning your body, something is missing. martial art training without walking your forms, something is missing. So because I have seen many different martial art styles, because I have met many different masters, teachers in the field of martial arts, that's why I can, of course, coming from the past, in a way compare myself to others. Sensing, feeling, seeing what do other martial artists have and what maybe I have. And then I'm a little bit stuck maybe on old movies or anything like this, but it's really similar, like with all the Marvel movies. It's like everybody has special skills. The question for you is, this life is so unique, what type of special skill set, so more skills together, would you like to incorporate into your life? It's not that everybody needs to be able to do the same things. Of course, there's a fundamental basis, but ultimately it is also the martial art training, the Kung Fu. It's an expression of your very individual, personalized life. And this is why I use the tools that I use. I do the training as I do the training. Because I have a vision about what type of martial artist, what type of personality, or let's say like this, I would like to be in when it comes to the martial arts. Okay? So, is this the only way to do the training? Of course not, like I just said before. So now I might be jumping a little bit, but if people, for example, nowadays, all the time we talk about the Shaolin teachings, the Shaolin arts. If you look right now out in the world, just recently this year, you could see that the huge delegation from the Shaolin Temple China was traveling throughout the whole world. Yeah, North America, South America, Europe, Australia. And what is the goal, let's say, in a way? It is to spread also this type of knowledge, to spread this type of idea that physicality, physical movement, martial arts merge together with certain theoretical guidelines is something that can be useful for the majority of this world. Therefore, you find, meanwhile, there are Shaolin temples, you find Shaolin cultural centers, you find all types of different events in order to get to know more about what is this Shaolin culture about. So, and along this way, what it means is that meanwhile you find over our globe a complete network of locations looking similar like a small martial forest. A martial forest made out of different smaller centers that are covering our earth. And if you are interested to get to know more about the Shaolin arts, these are the places for you to go. If you have never heard about this type of lifestyle, this type of way before, this is the place to go. As an introduction, there's nothing wrong in just doing so. But there simply is at the same time also a difference. And I think in our very, very first conversations, I have mentioned this already. The more easy reachable it becomes for the masses. It is my perspective, the less deep it can go. Because the teaching, in order to be easily understood, in order to be easily accepted, must be held on such an easy level, on such a basic level, that somebody who has nothing to do with it yet also finds it appealing to actually try out. So the entrance is easy. But what I'm telling you is, or what my personal training is, it's not easy. My emphasis, why I do the training is, as long as it's easy, that's not the training. I do the training to get started until it gets hard, and then it matters. This is my philosophy about why I'm using the martial arts. Yeah? And so that means to continuously push yourself. And this is not about right or wrong, or even sometimes the discussions nowadays, this is not real Shaolin and this is Shaolin. Everybody has access to the social medias, everybody has access to the internet now. I don't care what people think. You have your possibility of just do your research, but please do it properly. And afterwards, you can really decide for yourself. If you are not resonating with what I am saying, no need to follow me. No need to listen to me, nothing of this. Okay? The reason why I'm sharing this is because if people will ask the right question, they're gonna get the right answer. Okay? I'm really tired also a little bit of these constant discussions. Real, not real, certification, not certification. Okay, who wants to follow, follows, and who doesn't, doesn't. Okay, meanwhile, there's so much material out, people can see what is it that we are teaching here, who are the people that are teaching here, what is the background of the people that are teaching here, and then just build up your own reality is absolutely fine. But continuously poisoning first of all yourself by causing disbalance inside of your mind, and also poisoning like communities. We have enough poison and conflicts going on already. Is not necessary. So therefore, live and let live, and everybody just like focus on their own personal development. This is going to be the last and final thing to talk about this type of topic in case somebody wants to know. Then afterwards, after finishing my morning routine, meaning also like with Shen together, I don't know, the next thing that happens is after you have completely sweated, you have done the work, maybe there is like a sense of pride. A sense of pride that, okay, the day has just begun. It's 8 o'clock in the morning. The whole day is still in front of you, but you have already achieved something. You have already, in the first hours, challenged yourself, pushed yourself. At the end, actually did something good for the body because of the movement, did something good for, let's say, your breathing apparatus because you learned to regulate the breath, did something good for the flexibility of the body, did something good in order to increase the strength that you have. It's good. For me, this is a good start in the day. So, and then afterwards, normally I just take a shower, go then down into the office again, prepare maybe another cup of tea, or sometimes also a cup of coffee. And then I have like 1 hour, 2 hours sometimes, I do the office work. So, and also there, I have limited the time that I'm spending in front of the screen. Like I said, 1 hour, 2 hour maximum in that morning. Maximum. What I cannot answer in those 2 hours, I have scheduled it at a later point in time. So meaning the first thing that when I look at the inbox is I'm just flying over everything and looking for myself which one has a priority. Which one has a priority that in the best case I can answer right away now in the morning. And so this is what I do. All the other ones where I feel like there is no time pressure, yeah, I move it to another time. Yeah. So, and this is how very structured I have the way how I wake up, how I make my training, how I do the office work, okay? Because then latest around 11 o'clock, normally I then also drive out here to the temple, either having private lessons if there are private students, or also just like talking to people here about how are things going, okay? Because meanwhile, this community has grown so much that it was necessary, and I also regarded it as being the right thing to do, in or also like to start delegating some type of work related to this monastery to my students, to people that have been here for a long time, because this is exactly the thing. For many, many years, all of this has been like, it's like you would say it has been my child. And so what is the hardest thing? It is to invest your love, invest your time, invest everything, go through all the pain to make that child grow and develop. But then you can see already, you can sense it, the time has come that it's not possible somehow anymore for you to still remain on the side of the child. Okay? And it's really hard because you have built up such a strong relationship to all of this. And now it's time to let go. Understand? So even that is difficult for me. But then I actually went really inside and asked myself, but why is it that, what is it I'm afraid of about this child? The only thing I want is that this child continuously starts to grow, and actually that the child is always well off, that the child is being taken care of. Okay? And now I have to jump a little bit, but you see, this is how it's for me all connected. Sometimes I had the thought already, now I'm building up this race bike, okay, which took me 5 years. And sometimes I have these thoughts like, okay, what happens one day when like I'm gone? Where will this bike end up? Yeah, am I going to give it to a museum? Or who is going to take care of that bike in the way how I did it? And there I came to the conclusion, most probably no one. No one is going to adopt this child and will take care of that child in the way how I did it. Why not? Because now in regards to the bike, there is nobody else around who was involved in the process of building up that bike. This is why nobody has that type of relationship and connection to the bike. Now I jump back to the temple. I want this temple to survive. I want this organization to go on. I want that somebody is taking care of this place just like their child. How to do it? They must be integrated in the process already of bringing up that child. And that was the point where I said, it's time to delegate. It's time to let other people also start to understand the sufferings of the child, the problems of the child, and then let them figure out by themselves how to know which medicine is it you need to give. And I slowly just took myself out a little bit, just overseeing. Just making sure it's your responsibility, everything right now. Just in case something goes very wrong, I'm there. Then you can come. If it's all okay, I will just watch it. Okay? So So this is the process which has been going on right now, more or less, yeah, let's say since 1 year, 2 years ago it slightly started, but since the last time that we saw each other, this is like the process which is going on here. Okay, so I started taking myself out, feeling that it's time for a new, something old, an old era is about to come to an end. A new era is about to come. This is worldwide happening. It's happening inside our monastery. It's happening inside of me. Yes. Yeah, so where I got stuck now, where have we been? Yeah, 11 o'clock, coming out and asking the people if everything is okay. And then normally the schedule of the monastery just starts to take place, which means if we are having guests over here, then in the afternoon, sometimes I have training, okay? And then I mostly stay until around 6 o'clock, sometimes 7 o'clock in the evening, drive home to visit, for example, also the abbot of our monastery and having conversations with him, exchanging ideas, what might be like the next steps. And then already the evening has come and the next training is happening. Yeah. And then just the day repeats again.
I told you guys that I was doing the world's heaviest marathon, and I achieved it. It was 28 miles with 100 kilos on my back, 220 pounds. Then over the next 10 days, I ran an average of 40 miles per day with a 55-pound stone on my back. We achieved it. And so many people told me that that was impossible and that I wouldn't be able to do it. And that's why a lot of you guys have been donating to the cause, because we achieved impossible. But somebody who supported me from the very get-go was Chad Robichaux. And with that, him and a company that he worked with, Vortex, who do Vortex Optics, who a lot of you guys probably know about, also have supported me on this cause. Vortex Optics have donated a Razor HD Gen 3 and a Impact 4000 ballistic rail-mounted laser rangefinder, which is like $8,000 or something together. If you donate $7, I believe it is, at mulliganbrothers.com, which I'll link down below, you get an entry into the raffle to win those. And the money that you donate goes to the charity. So if that sounds like something that you want to do for our US audience, the link is down below. We're also giving away a Brass Monkey ice bath for our UK audience. It's a £5 donation. And again, it's at mulliganbrothers.com. All this money that we raise is going to help provide headstones for bereaved parents. And I cannot thank you guys enough. The mission is complete with taking the stone back, the 480 miles on my back. But the fundraising mission is still not complete. And I'm urging you guys to help us achieve this. I really, really want to be able to provide going forward indefinitely for parents who need headstones for their babies. Thank you to Vortex Optics and Chad for making this possible. Links down below.
When we spoke in the last interview, you'd mentioned the word loneliness a few times. And I'm really interested to hear your definition and also your experience with it. Because I know for a fact, especially after COVID, it's been like young men experiencing loneliness has been this huge issue, I would say, in society. I think even myself and my brothers have experienced it at times. But when you say loneliness, do you mean being alone, or do you mean like feeling lonely, like there was no one there for you? Does that make sense, the distinction in the two?
So the loneliness I describe is not the way how I said it or mean it. It's not that I was lacking people around me. Okay, I'm constantly somehow involved in events, having training, all of these things. What makes it lonely is Not even necessarily that I don't have a connection with other, let's say, soul brothers, soul sisters, where we know that there is a support. The loneliness is in regards to the path that you are walking. Yeah, being inside with you guys, for example, for the last 2-3 days, beyond the fact of that we are physically close, but I feel there is even another connection, another layer beyond that. That layer of, okay, you could also be like a brother with another job, with another vision. Okay? So, of course, there is also this type of connection. But the loneliness, I say, is, yeah, but sometimes you're going to go back to UK. Once we meet, the connection is back. But then there is still that loneliness of, is your life? Yeah. And it's the questioning of what to do next, this type of loneliness. Okay. And the more you want to move on, the more you spend time being lonely. This is like the type of loneliness like I'm also referring to.
I'm lucky I've got my brothers and sisters because we feel like we're on the same purpose, the same path. And I've never felt lonely on that journey. And then I'd say recently I've had people come into my life that have been like brothers and sisters to me as well on the path of doing that. So was it that you found people in those on that same journey or same path or supported you that made you feel less lonely?
Yes. So this is actually more or less why we have this community right now. So more or less the people you find right now in the Shaolin Temple Europe, this is the core. Yeah, this is the one that influenced me the most. These are the ones I have some impact on. Let's say like this. Okay. And this constellation, it's good. Because like this temple, this community is the baby, is all of our childs. Okay, in regards to the temple. But in regards to life, each one is also lonely.
Yeah, I get that's it. You're all right. This was the funny thing when you were speaking about it yesterday, and I had this picture for a video or documentary. We didn't go with it, but there's probably a highlight around it. But that almost like lone wolf mentality, and we've spoken about connection and having community and support, and with the Shaolin Temple, you have that in a huge way, but then I've always found comfort in it is on me, and everything for me, my internal experience is on me. Whether I'm happy, whether I'm sad, whether I achieve success, whether I have good relationships, like I always find a level of comfort in going, it's on you, and you are the one to blame if it goes wrong. You are the one to praise if it succeeds, whatever. But that has always been a huge thing to me. I mean, is that something that you have as well, some kind of mentality, or is it all based in community?
No, I mean, these are, of course, the thoughts that also like fill up my mind. But that's exactly it, yeah, this internal dialogue.
Yeah.
The more you want to develop, the more dialogue you will have to have.
Yeah.
This is what it is. And even while being surrounded in a community, but at the end, when you're doing something, when you do your training, when you do your office work, it's still like you are alone. And you observe yourself in which state you are actually. So this more or less, some people might get it as loneliness means it's something negative. No, it is what it is, lonely.
Yeah.
So, and if you think that I can't handle loneliness, it's difficult to grow. Yeah, it's difficult to grow if you cannot handle loneliness.
And that's really reassuring to hear, because like I've had the stages of loneliness where I felt like this is on me, it's on my back, I'm going to do this, and this is the path I want to go in. And then I've on the flip side of that, I've realized that also, and this is the other message I want to put out there, is that
there's huge growth in connection and community as well. And it's like, you need to be able to do both. That's for me personally. Like, I don't want to stick to being a one-man band. I don't believe in self-made. I don't think that you can ever do it fully by yourself. I personally don't think people have had true success without at least standing on the giants before them who paved the path, and most likely circumstance with the people who were around them at the time as well, who helped them get where, however it was. I've only just really had that over the last three or 4 years, where I've started to really try and invest in other people and have them help me on my path, have them, tell me when I'm wrong, and, try and take that on the chin and be part of a community and inspire each other. And I started to really speak about, getting mentors and having basically what you do, like try and find masters and learn from them. And it could be anything. Like, I think some people go, well, I'm a filmmaker, so I have to have a mentor in filmmaking. But like, to me, a master could be my mother. She could be great at a certain thing, and she could be the master for me in certain things, and I'll take those lessons that I find extremely valuable from her. It could be literally, it could be a relationship, someone who's got a great relationship, and I could take their knowledge and wisdom on relationships, and maybe discard the things I don't think are growthful for me in business. I think there's that thing of like learning from other people. It could be books as well, like, the stories I love autobiographies. They could be books. I should refer them to read your book, actually, coming out in English soon, hopefully. Yeah,
It's going to happen, but take some time.
What's the book about? Is it all autobiographical, or?
I actually had some conversation with your brother before. I don't even know how to call it. So initially the idea was, like I said, many people have different ways of how they can get in contact with something. Some through the social media, some through a movie, some through like podcasts, and other people through reading. So that there is a book was not like I wanted to have a book. It was just a logical consequence of having the possibility, if somebody likes to read, in order to get to all these topics that we are sharing through the channel, for example, then there's also like a book about it. So meaning everything in the last 36 years that I regard as, because of course the book is limited. In that case, I had like 288 pages. So for 288 pages, this is what I have put in from the last 36 years. 36 years condensed into these pages. Yeah. Of course, it's limited in knowledge, but it still is enough. It's enough to get it. Okay. And this was like just the point about why I'm happy in a way that it also manifested, let's say like this.
This is a nice question to open with, and I want to open with like trying to find light within the darkness, or trying to find hope in difficult times.
Okay. So let's start taking this question quite literally, meaning it's too dark. So the result of if something is too dark is it's very difficult to actually distinguish anything. What are your possibilities in the darkness? Because you don't see any direction, you don't see objects in the darkness. So what therefore the approach is, what therefore I think must be done, is no matter which method you're using, you need to light up that space. So either you find a way to really light up that space so that in such a way that darkness slowly disappears and you slowly start to see what is in that room, what is in that space. That is the first possibility. Or the second one would be that you are developing yourself and are equipping yourself with some type of skills that gives you better abilities to see in the dark. And that can now mean, to translate this, sometimes when we are talking about seeing, we often relate it to the eyes, of course. But now there are different types of martial arts that already know sometimes things are going too fast. So fast that it's not advisable to only rely your actions upon what your eyes are able to perceive. So that's why now we are increasing sensibility and sensitivity in other areas of ourselves, which means the sensitivity of your touch, the sensitivity of realizing noise. Yeah? And that means in the Chinese martial arts, for example, there are different methods that are training certain skills. The skills to better listen. But listening, this time not meaning listening with the ears, listening while touching and being in contact with the person. That means the sensitivity increases of how you are starting to perceive your counterpart, let's say. And now translating this into the question, how can someone now who finds himself in this type of darkness, so what can he do? And there I can really only say there are a lot of different methods out there, and every door needs one certain key. Sometimes the Shaolin methods are not always the proper ones to just be offered to anyone. Sometimes it just doesn't fit. But the principle behind all of this is, see, this feeling of darkness in the way, this feeling of something is, it's closed to you. So if I right now just replace that word darkness with the term that something is closed, the possibilities are closed because there's nothing to see. You don't know what to do. So what are we doing in the different methods now in the Shaolin Temple? Number one step is open the body or open the human. Open the human not only in terms of physically opening, meaning stretch open the muscles, stretch open the tendons, stretch open the ligaments, open really the body, open the lungs, that more oxygen can come in. But also means open the mind. Open the mind meaning to stop, to realize whenever you are in a way limiting your views, for example, limiting your own perspective. And by regularly practicing, every day we have exercises to open the body. Every day we take care that we are opening and stay with the open mind. This openness after time is something that we are then starting to incorporate into our being, into our daily life. And this is what opens then the doors again. The more open you become, the more you will see once again the possibilities that are out there. And now, practically speaking, what should you do? Increase the level of activity. That is like if you want to have a one straight answer, if somebody finds himself in a too dark place, increase the amount of activity. Which means spend a lot of time outside while the sun is shining where there are a lot of people. The opposite is you're in a dark place and you stay at home in your four walls. For some time, it's sometimes necessary, but this is not going to be the solution. So that means if you by yourself cannot create that light, then we have to somehow try that the circumstances on the outside help you, support you a little bit along this way. And it can be quite similar, being also seen with this monastery, if everybody would have the ability to bring out the self-discipline, you don't need like disciplinary masters. Meaning you don't need a monastery also that takes care that you are keeping that external rules and the external structure. But like, for example, today, all the young guys that came, if they would already be so self-disciplined that they know exactly what they can do, what they cannot do, if they want to achieve something, that they just focus on that, if they knew all of these things, well, then they don't need this monastery anymore. But the point is that no human being, or a few, let's say, or very little, it's difficult sometimes if you are surrounded with different environments to always remind yourself back again. What is the state of being to keep on walking? And therefore, if it is not existing in the beginning coming from yourself, that's why we need sometimes external support. And the same goes for the question if somebody finds himself in that place of darkness. Either you find a way that you can find some light in there and then make it shine brighter from day to day. Or you need support. And this support at the same time can also mean I think it makes sense to say that if you are looking for external support, you need to find the persons that already solved this problem, that already went through that darkness, that already had been in that darkness. Because if somebody has never been there, what are the answers? What are the solutions this person giving you? From which fundament are they coming? On behalf of which basis? So that means sometimes the answers to such questions, they must come from someone who already had experience in that area. Because all other things are sometimes assumptions, book knowledge, which doesn't mean it's wrong, but it still is quite different. If you are talking sometimes to people where you know they went through something, this is not talk. It's talk from their experience.